What is up, guys? It's Jimbo here, and welcome to my 1 to 70 Lightning Storm Druid Lord of Thunder build that I have been working on. It's taken me a couple days to get up to this level, but the build is better than ever. I still haven't even got half of the build online yet, i.e. the Paragon board, because I'm currently sitting at level 77, but this will take you all the way up to level 70 and all the way through to level 100 when we jump into it. So let's actually just waste no more time and jump straight in. Okay, guys, so let's jump into the updated Lightning Storm build. It is really solid once you get it all online. The biggest caveat to this specific build is, regardless of if you have all of the aspects and things that you need, your Paragon board ultimately will play a massive factor alongside your stats as well. But the Paragon board plays a huge role in really getting this to work as best as you can. And you will need your glyphs and such. I am level 75 at the moment, but this is going to be covering it all the way up to level 100. I have the build in the chat below, so you can go and check it out in the description and just basically follow the path that I've gone through with the mapping out. So let's run through everything. First of all, let's go to our abilities and look at the skill tree. It will change from the leveling variant that I put up a few days ago. But once you hit 50 and you have everything available to you and you get the build online, this is what you want to go for. So you got 3 points into Wind Shear over Storm Strike. Storm Strike's good for damage reduction, but Wind Shear is just so much better for one, making things vulnerable, and two, getting you extra spirit compared to Storm Strike. Yeah, you can get a 3 additional spirit for every enemy that you hit beyond, so it's a lot better. We have 5 points into Lightning Storm, and then 3 points going all the way up to Raging Light Storm. Then we have 3 points from our armor, 1 point in Heart of the Wild, and 3 points in Wild Impulses. This is going to increase us significantly. 3 points in Ancestral Fortitude, 3 points in Vigilance. This is for non-physical resistances because they're important now, and Vigilance for damage reduction whenever you use a defensive skill. We are going with Cyclone Armor, with Preserving Cyclone Armor to get that 30% damage reduction. And then we're also putting 3 points into Earth and Bulwark, and then getting ourselves Preserving, because this is going to be a key for 1, Unstoppable, and 2, being able to generate us a barrier as well that absorbs damage. So we can get Fortify and a barrier, which means that we're quite tanky as well. We have 3 points into Nature's Reach with an extra 2 points to increase that up to a ×15 multiplier. And this is where the bulk of the points are going to be going. 1 point into Hurricane, Enhanced Hurricane, and then Savage Hurricane. This is going to give us the 20% less damage. You can use Natural Hurricane if you are in some of the earlier levels, because it's going to be nice to have a little bit of Vulnerable. But do recommend going with Savage for that additional damage reduction. We have 3 points into Electric Shock, 3 points into Charged Atmosphere, and 3 points into Bad Omen. Charged Atmosphere got a buff this season, so every 8 seconds it deals a 45% damage with this, so it's a lightning bolt. On top of that, we also have Electric Shock, which also does a lightning bolt, and then also Bad Omen as well. And combining that with the new changes to the Paragon, or the new glyph that we have, it means that our lightning bolts are going to be doing so much more damage. Finally, we have Cataclysm, relatively easy. 3 points into Defiance and 3 points into Natural Disaster to give us an additional 12% extra modifier. And then on top of that, we have our 2 points into Defensive Posture, which is going to get us in there, which is going to give us an additional Fortify. And then we're running Earth and Might. I'll tell you why we're running Earth and Might in just a moment when we go through our aspects. For the Paragon board, you are going to see the full one down in the description, but once you get Exploit, you want that. You also want to get Fulminate, Human online, but the new one that you want to get is Electrocution. This allows you to do our Dancing Bolts that we get and Lightning Bolts. They deal an extra 17 points of damage, 17% points of damage for every 5 willpower that we have. This can go up significantly. And also, I believe the bolts are also considered in the tree as well. Lightning Storm, Lightning Storm. So I don't know if it's like per strike. I don't know if this counts into it as well, but I'm not entirely sure. I haven't tested it fully. But as you'll see, enemies damaged by your lightning bolts or dancing bolts take an additional 20% damage modifier, so the same as vulnerable damage for 5 seconds when you meet the 40 willpower requirements. So good. The other one you want to get is Spirit as well, and then the last one that's been added this season is not going to be for the specific class, but it's called Tectonic, so we won't be using that in this specific build. For the Spirit boons, we are running Wariness, we are running Scything Talons for the additional critical strike chance. We get an additional 30% critical strike damage with Avian Wrath. You can put in maximum life if you want to, but Avian Wrath is just good to have that free damage. I am running Energized purely because it gives me extra chance to give me more Spirit. This build struggles with Spirit over Calamity. And then I've been messing around. Overlord is pretty good for getting that additional lucky hit proc. But I've tried Calm Before the Storm again, and it's only 2 seconds. It's not crazy, and it has up to a 10% chance to proc, so it doesn't always proc, and this could potentially have a 40% chance to proc and give you some additional damage. As for our vampire powers, before we go through everything else, I've swapped around these quite a lot, but you want Bathe in Blood. This is the most important one. At level 3, it gives you a 40% damage multiplier when you're standing in the pool of blood and a 30% damage reduction. The other key one is Undying. This gives you 3% life and 50%. It doubles it to 6% life whenever we cast stuff when we're below 50%. We have Sanguine Brace for a Fortify. Whenever we kill an enemy, we fortify for 6%. We're doing that a lot. And also it increases our critical strike chance as well, which is quite good. While you fortify more than half of your maximum life, so if you're like at full fortify, you get an additional 8% crit chance. We have Prey on the Weak for an additional 16% damage multiplier to vulnerable enemies. I'm not too sure how this interacts with vulnerable itself, so I'm not very good with the math on that. And also we have Domination, which is another multiplier if we stun, freeze, or fear enemies. And also if they're injured and not an elite, they're instantly killed, which is really cool. You could swap this out and potentially go with a Cursed Touch, or there is Anticipation or Resilience as well. It's entirely down to you. A lot of talking, so let's just run through everything. I'll briefly touch on the stats in just a moment. But we have Earthguard for our first aspect. This is going to allow us to get an additional barrier and increase the strength of Earthen Bulwark. That is also going to combine with Mending Stone. Mending Stone allows us to extend the duration of our Earthen Bulwark for 6 seconds. And if you do use an Earth skill with this, you will be able to get replenish the barrier. So that's going to be quite good if you're doing it with other builds. And then Disobedience is our last defensive orientated aspect that we are using. I also have the Mighty Storm. This is the most important thing to make the build work. You need to get this. The Earth and Might key passive now applies to Storm skills. This is going to be great for being able to give ourselves Spirit and also crit things. And out of nowhere, you may need Spirit to continue doing damage. This can proc and will help you out. And then we have Ghostwalker here, which is going to allow us to, when we're unstoppable, is phase through enemies, which is super helpful if you're trying to get away from certain situations. We have Accelerating aspect here, which is basically going to allow us for our lightning strikes to do more damage a lot more quicker. Basically, the faster your attack speed, the faster the lightning strikes come down. We're also combining that with Retaliation, which is for however much Fortify we have, we are going to do an additional 34% multiplier, which is very, very good. We have Lightning Dancer on our amulet because this allows us, whenever we critically strike an enemy, and this is one enemy, or make critical strikes, you spawn 3 dancing bolts, and then there's just loads of them. This dancing bolts is the thing that is going to do a stupid amount of extra damage with the glyph that we have. And then on top of that, we have Runewalker's Conduit, which is going to allow us to cause a lightning bolt that will periodically, go down. And this is also amplified by that specific glyph as well. And then Overcharged as well, which is there's up to a 17% chance when it lucky hits for damage to overload a target and deal an additional pulse to them around them. And it's very, very good when it procs. So let's quick fire the stats that you want. On here, on your helmet, you're going to want cooldown reduction, maximum life. Life on kill is really important here as well. And then a resistance of your choice, or some armor or a stat. It's entirely up to you because a lot of the stats have changed. On our armor, specifically a disobedience for our chest and also pants, you're going to want to have damage reduction versus close, distant, damage reduction while injured, just flat damage reduction, total armor is all good. Likewise here, I have damage reduction while fortified. I have damage while in human form, which is super helpful as well. This isn't perfect yet, but you want to get as many damage reductions as you can. On your gauntlets, you're going to want to have attack speed, lucky hit chance, lightning storm ranks, and then I have storm skill cooldown reduction here, but this isn't exactly what I want. I would probably want crit chance on here as well. On our boots, movement speed, spirit cost reduction, damage reduction while injured, and then insert a resistance of your choice. That could also be I think you can also get cooldown reduction on your boots as well. I'm not entirely sure off the top of my head. On your one-hander, you're going to want to try and get yourself damage to close, damage to distant, core skill damage, and lightning critical strike damage is also pretty good as well. I'll explain why these stats are important in just a moment. Likewise, on your totem, you're going to want to get yourself lucky hit chance, spirit cost reduction, damage reduction while fortified if you can, any specific stats that will help you out like intelligence for resistances and willpower. Cooldown reduction is also very good as well, and those will be the main things that you want on there. On your amulet, damage reduction from close enemies, ranks to nature's reach or the one that is elite, defiance I think it is. I have storm skill damage on here and storm skill cooldown reduction. If you can get cooldown reduction on here and then like damage reduction as well. Then for your rings, critical strike chance, lucky hit chance, damage to close, and damage to distant enemies, and that's going to be repeated twice. I haven't got the perfect rings here. The reason for this is in the most recent patch, Thunderstruck has been changed to now deal increased damage equal to a 20% multiplier to your damage and close versus damage versus distant bonuses. So currently I have a 12% modifier, and get that up to 20%. That means I'm going to get the damage from those, and then I'm also going to get this as well as an extra modifier to boost my damage up as well. So really vitally important. Let's go through some tips on what I would recommend when you're playing the build though. So let me be honest about the build. There is a few caveats to it that it takes a while, as I've said many times, to get online. You need ancestral like guidance to be able to give you that extra crit damage. It does struggle with spirit generation quite a bit if you aren't able to manage it, and if you push too high, you'll be spent a lot of time using a basic attack to try and get your damage back. But for me, I was able to do roughly tier 45, so like 99 when I was like level 75, 76. So it's 20 above, and I do think it can push more once I get the full Paragon board up and going. I definitely feel like the glyphs as well, because I was able to rush all the way through to world tier 4. A lot of my glyphs aren't leveled up yet, and when they do get leveled up, which is what I'm going to be doing, they're going to make this build a hell of a lot better. The two new glyphs, Tectonic, I haven't tried yet, but the Electrocutioner is really good. It adds on the added element. I haven't got the additional bonus yet, but I do think it's going to be insane when it comes to how it works with dancing bolts and lightning bolts, because you get a lot of them, and having those constantly, doing additional damage here and there and hitting those lucky hits as well is going to be really, really good. My main tip for the build, if you are jumping into this for the first time, is channel the lightning strike up to ×3. So like let it spark 3 times, and then tap the button over and over and over again until you run out, and then you'll have a little timer that is going down on the lightning strike. That's when you can start generating some more resource to be able to make it go again, and then just keep doing that. But then if there's a whole boatload of enemies, just hold it down and it will absolutely destroy everything that is around. And then also on top of that, with the new added bonus being the channeling when you're standing in the pool of blood, don't think you can just stand in it and tank a bunch of damage. It is a 30% damage reduction, which is quite good, but that additional bonus as well can make it crit really well. The only issue with the build overall, which I've said for a very, very long time, is that it struggles with single target purely because it is RNG where they're going to actually hit. And as long as you can keep that spirit generation up, it is kind of hard to be able to single out a specific boss, which is a little bit unfortunate. But regardless, that is the build. Thank you very much for watching. If it has been helpful, all the links are going to be down in the description, so go and check that out. And as this video is going live, I am going to be streaming over on my Twitch channel for the drops. I'm going to be going through my Nightmare Dungeon pushes, and if you have any questions and such about the build, please come on over there and check it out. And also we'll discuss the rest of Diablo as well. And as always, this has been It's Jimbo, and I'll see you guys next time.